Start. Tell me you're ready.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much for to everybody that came here. I'm sorry I don't have a lot of voice because I got a little bit of cold. I'm here with my two colleagues, Pellervo and Aspasia. We come from Dyn.org. It's a non-profit based in the Netherlands. We do software for mostly for society kind of interaction. So it's software that comes from the needs of common communities, let's say. Being involved in designing software for privacy for big European projects and design software to empower communities more. That's what we want to do and what we're good in doing. I'm Federico, friend. I forgot to the project we are here to talk about is called Common Fair. It's a project financed by the European Community, and it's about well, the main idea was to after having mapped a lot of different communities that are busy in trying to grow from the community itself services and stuff, and having noted also that there was a big lack of information and of a need for structures of solidarity between communities that were impoverished. Decided to make a project that might facilitate the sharing of information in principle. So there is a platform online. Now we are at the third year of the project. We've been presenting mostly the three main countries that were involved in the project where we have been piloting it were the Netherlands, Italy and Croatia. I'll show you the platform, because that's maybe the easiest thing to show. So this is the platform online. It has a section that contains information about what is the way to access welfare in every country. And then there is it's a publishing platform for stories that talk about the community. So you can mostly join as a platform, of course, and write on it. The thing that is interesting, and is mostly the things we come here to try to introduce and apply in small circuits here, is the possibility of using a wallet for modeling what you do in the community, your activity in a community, your voluntary activity with the transfer of money. In this case, the wallet is here. I have 2,400 common coins, and I can give them to anybody that is in the platform for anything. There was also an experiment with basic income, so practically every month everybody that is in the platform gets some coins that he can use. So practically the platform has these two sides of it. One is sharing information, and with this information trying to map a bit what's happening, especially.
What are those coins based on? Is there some blockchain?
Yeah, well, this is the interesting thing. That's why we are here. Actually, we made this generic wallet, free software wallet, and the wallet can be customized. You can create your own coins, and you can put the coins on a blockchain, and a database, and blockchain is blockchain agnostic, so you can use practically any blockchain, and it's a multi-currency kind of wallet. So the idea is that, I mean, it started a little bit far away. It started from the idea, what is money? and why money is so successful in modeling a lot of human interaction, or different human interaction, and how you can, with a model based on currency, in this case a complementary currency or two, maybe, you can model some types of structures of trust or of interaction between people. So maybe the best way to go forward illustrating the wallet is either to talk about a case, a user case that we have set it up, and then maybe just to make some examples that come from you. I mean, this is a bit the idea. So one of the examples of currency that we used was Macau. Maybe I start from Macau. What do you think, Aspasia? Okay. So one of these examples we used is this Macau. It's occupied center in Milan. So it's mainly a squat. I don't know if you do have squats in Finland.
Not really, no.
Well, the idea, may I make a drawing?
Of course.
Well, the idea is that, okay, Milan, there is a lot of empty spaces that are property of the Comune di Milan, of the city. They're not used. In this case, well, the story starts, they were doing this very big event in Milan, and they were reconsidering all kind of empty spaces in town. So there was a lot of moving in the space of the public property. A lot was sold off. They started occupying places, and they ended up. That is illegal in theory, but as a sort of political action. They occupied this place that is a very nice old 19th century was a borsa. How do you say borsa? Stock market for exchange of meat. So it's a beautiful 19th century building in the center of, I mean, in a quite central area of Milan. It's historical, and they started to use it as a cultural center. It has on the back a lot of land that is mostly unused, and they want to make it as they want to throw everything away and make some how you say, big buildings probably. But so far they cannot touch the thing. It was 2011, so in Italy there was a big political movement that decided was mostly taken by people that were precarious workers in theater and in arts. That maybe rings a bell. So precarious workers in theater and art, very good in making communication.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome. So I was illustrating this user case for our thing. I'm going to recapitulate a bit so you don't miss too much.
Okay.
So we're talking about Milan. Is an anarchist community. They occupied a big place, crumbling down, they restructured a bit. This is also where we have developed the game with Raffaella. It's a very nice place, a community of artists, mostly. And it's run with a structure that is, let's say, horizontal, totally horizontal, made by, let's say, volunteers. So people that have with different type of interest are busy within this community. It's an open community. You can just go in every Wednesday at the assembly and propose what you want to do and see if somebody wants to do something with you. Because it's divided in 2 floors, this is the structure. So it's a sort of structure like this. This is the map. There is an empty space in the middle where they do the assembly, and then 2 floors with a lot of studios. Something like this. So there are lots of room you can close. So they organize themselves in the assembly as tables. Every table got a room. There is people busy with stitching, sewing, a high club, some theater companies. You know, the space is used in many ways. one of the peculiar way to use the space is, of course, to make parties in which you sell drinks, in which let's say the police doesn't come in, and yeah, it's what is called a squat. So there is an economy inside. There is an economy, a lot of voluntary work. There is an assembly that rules this thing with a vote. At the end, resolving conflict and try to get everybody agreeing on things. And of course, a lot of these conflicts are around the fact that there is money coming in with the parties. So who does the parties brings the money in. How this money can be redistributed for activities that are more political and don't bring money. How to evaluate the work that everybody does. I mean, somebody that does the flyers, somebody cleans the toilet, and how to rule this in a horizontal way. So we did various interventions there, and we designed actually this game that I will talk about it later in Macau. The idea was to apply radical transparency so that everybody knows what the transactions are, collective budgeting kind of ideas, and to model all this with the currency. So we made this Macau currency. They have a wallet. They can access all the transactions that are done. And I think the way it's done at the moment, Aspasia, you correct me if I'm wrong, is that a certain sum is parachuted every year, every month. So every month everybody got some money, some Macau coins for free. I think it's not like that.
Well, they redistribute the earnings of the month. So every month they have expenses and earnings. What is left, they redistribute it equally to every member of the cooperative.
But one of the things was to also model how much you exchange this money. So using a money as a measure of activity as well. You know? How much you are active when you exchanges. No, not much.
Yeah, in a way, because they can also, by taking care of the common spaces, they can earn some money.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's a bit circular. It stays inside the community.
So
That's
mostly they use the coin to model exchange, and at the end of the month, if you have worked enough, you get a sort of basic income. And this from an anarchist place run with just system of consensus and a once a week assembly that elaborates on things. Everybody has access to this wallet and can see things. I think there was a proposal now at a certain point that it's interesting. I don't know if they're using it anymore, but it was interesting as an idea. Is that to organize the evenings, the things that bring money, you should have a certain amount of money, of coin, thermal coin to put in, that was inferior to the amount that you get parachuted. So at least to incentivize the communication between the tables, so that no table could take a Saturday alone unless they had a deal with other tables that would put the coins. So it's a mixture of things like that. Of course, we did it. We didn't put up a blockchain in this case because they didn't want to, and there was no need. It could be done on a database. The advantage is radical transparency in this case. On the Common Fair platform, there is also a wallet that is used in another way. Mostly, what we would like to incentivize, that's why we're doing these presentations, is to have people writing on the Common Fair platform about the situation here, for example. And try to use it and give us feedback on how it feels to use it. There is a way in the platform to use directly the wallet of. You can make a group in the platform and experiment with your own core currency. I think in the from the platform itself. So you don't need anything else to start an experiment on with coins. You can just use the platform via web, and unfortunately only via web at the moment. It's worth mentioning another experiment we did in Sant'Arcangelo. Sant'Arcangelo di Romagna is a theater festival, and the situation was rather different in the sense that it's a rather famous independent theater festival. It's run in this beautiful village in north of Italy, and goes on for 10 days, 2 weeks, let's say. The fact is that it's very well known by many people that comes on purpose for the theater, and that there isn't anymore that much interaction with the village itself. Used to be a festival of street art, and then became a sort of posh theater festival. So they wanted to recreate some sort of interaction with the people there. What they did was to propose as an art project, an experiment with complementary currency, in which you could go and change, for example, 50 euros into Santa coin, the coin of the festival, have a QR code, and you could in any moment pay a discount, not only the beer and the tickets of theater with the QR code, but also exchange it for a haircut or massage or stuff like that, done by the artisans of the place. So there was a sort of performative moment in the square in the evening. You could go and get a massage and pay with the coins. It was very successful because people felt that it was very easy to use. And of course, you might understand this is a way to get with free software also a system of payment based on the QR code. That is actually, we just back, Aspasi and I, from China, and actually you pay like that from the taxi to the coffee to anything. You pay just with the QR code. It's very much used. It's Alipay, so it's a private owned in China kind of system. But they're also making it with work with the Badu coin. That is, let's say, the government electronic coin that you can earn that also with being good, being a good citizen, or you can earn it with fidelization of shops, like points because you buy at the same shop. So it's a very strange kind of top-down concept. Anyway, in Sant'Arcangelo we did the version for the city. It was very, working pretty nice. Aspasi, it was working pretty good. People was happy about it. So we set up from Dyn. We set up this software and would like people to use it, of course. So on the platform you can create, for example, your profile, have conversation, create a group, join a group, exchange coins. There is not much you can buy, but you can give people other coins. You can also, I think, put stuff to sale for common coins.
Yeah, there is a common place. It's like a marketplace, but this is going to be implemented now. How to buy, because now you cannot directly buy it. So the idea is that you can exchange also services or goods in some way in a European platform. So, but how it will be implemented is part of the reason. So what people find, if communities find a use for this, then it will be implemented like this. That's why it's still open-ended, basically. So from what we discussed, so if you see that the communities can use something like this, then it will be added in that way, basically.
Tomorrow, Ruby van der Wecken will join us. She was organizing this study in Aikapankki, the time banking thing, which is, I see, quite similar, but it was years ago and it was gunned down by the taxman because they wanted to tax these moneyless interactions. But of course it was kind of like, very harshly interpreted by the public, so it just kind of like was hushed down the thing and people were not participating in it anymore. But I think it wasn't like that strict that all services should be
It's
taxed.
still running.
It's running.
It's still running.
Yeah, but I think it's like quite on low.
What actually the exact thing was this. Sorry, I'm Marcus Petts. I'm a bit late. I was at the ambassador's reception for scientists in the British Embassy. I left early. I felt
Yes.
kind of days and ran here. Yeah, the problem was this: is that somebody asked the tax office, "What's the situation if somebody does work? Do they have to pay tax on it?" The tax office said yes. And they said, "Well, what's the rate?" And they said, "Well, given the professional rate, they must pay taxes as if they did the service at the professional rate. Otherwise, it's dodging tax." So it meant all the professional people who were maybe electricians or I don't know, people who fix computers, then had to pay the tax rate as if they'd done the work at a professional level.
Yeah.
So the professional people just said, "Well, I can't do this. I have to pay you to work for you." So many of the people dropped out of the Aikapankki in Helsinki, but many of the other time banks in the country just said, "Well, we can't run," just folded or stopped operating. So the concept that they tried to have was the toveri. So toveri means toveri is comrade. So the idea was that the toveri would be worth 1 hour and you just exchange time. But the tax office is
It was Toby.
Toby, sorry, Toby.
Toby, which is
A moment.
moment.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Toby, moment. You're right.
So it's not legal to have any sort of complementary currency here?
No, it is.
It's legal,
You
but
have to
it's
pay
like
taxes.
You pay
Yeah.
tax. If it's time, you have to pay taxes on what?
As if you were a professional earning the
On
collect-
time.
as if you were a professional being paid the collective agreed rate.
Yeah,
Which the unions have
understand.
negotiated.
But it's
Yeah,
strange.
it's
But
the
I think the
unions.
Netherlands is not the
Yeah.
case. If you change time.
No.
But
And
actually,
Britain and France not either.
actually, it's deep in Finnish tradition to do free work for others.
Mhm.
Talko, what is it?
yeah.
There isn't a good translation. I just say talcott.
Yes.
Yeah.
So people used to build houses with neighbors participating in that,
Yeah.
and there wasn't any problem. But when you do a platform, there seems to be some.
Yeah, that's kind of like the issue that there is like, of course, like neighborly help is allowed and you can do whatever to help your neighbor, but what's the distance from you to that neighbor? Like, is it on a platform? Are you neighbors? Like, that's kind of like the relationship between the individuals is still a bit shady, I suppose. So
The way the talcott should work is it's a collective thing like cleaning a yard or even cleaning all of Finland. There's one friend of mine organised that. But it can be anything that's collective. But the person who holds the talcott is supposed to feed everyone. So the payment is only food.
Uh-huh.
So this is the subtle difference. In this case, it's somebody trading, so they see it as market exchange. Whereas at Talcott, there's no market exchange. So that's what the tax officer are arguing.
Yeah.
Whether it's you agree with that or not, that's their.
Well, there is a case, for example, we are investigating for Italy. It might be interesting. In Italy, for example, you have the fact that for cultural projects, usually if you are allowed, for example, €1,000, the €1,000 get paid after 1 year, 1 year and a half. And in the meantime, you have to do the project, and it's already a very low pay. So we were thinking about trying to model something like that with various stakeholders and do something like alternative currency that you can have your pay in that alternative currency and at the same time can be accepted because it's a cultural thing by the whole village as a sort of exchange. And actually this has been also traditionally done. For example, in Scotland they would do it with nails in place of coins. They would just put a nail to remember that you had this exchange on something that would be paid at the end of the year. So in this way you have a sort of modeling of exchange using alternative currency. Another example, we're thinking of using it for horizontal, like for ways of organizing the work horizontally. Imagine you have a work that is task-oriented and you want self-organized. So I get 1,000 coins for that work. I cannot do some of this part of this task, I can give it to you to fill in for my task. But at the same time, I can self-organize this. Like, example, there is you have to. It's a workday surveillance of a place. The only important thing, there is always somebody. So we could be self-organizing, exchanging coins. The only important thing, there is always somebody. It's always covered. As long as this is covered, a boss should not give a damn about how the people that is supposed to use this service is self-organized. At the end of the month, you re-buy these coins for money, and you have shared the money. And I think for in the case of freelancers, it can be that you make a job as freelancer, you get paid in internal coins, but then the job is margin of risk, so we make more money than we thought, so we re-evaluate the coin, and we divide for this re-evaluation, or the work didn't went as good, we had more expenses than we thought, we de-evaluate the coin. And it's a way to be fair, to give everybody the fair share for more. So there are many ways to use this kind of systems to model small or many way little economies, but also very big economies that just have very low spend. So they are made by many individuals that are organizing in small networks. Can also be of use. So to conclude let's say the main presentation, then I would like to have some questions probably, that it's more easy. We have this developed this software, we keep developing for the next year. We would like some people to use it, both on the platform and in eventually directly. It has the possibilities of doing a lot of things that people is interested in doing it. Can use a blockchain, can use many blockchains, can use database for main things, can be centralized of peer-to-peer, can be scaled a lot, and we are interested in see how people will use it. I finished just with the Common Fair presentation, just to be fair. So the goals are to share the stories about social collaboration, neighborhoods, cities, etc. Is multi-language, the site, so if you want to contribute a story, please try to subscribe to the site and contribute a story, even in Finnish if you like. We're actually happy. And we can try to ask somebody to translate in Finnish for a little bit of common coins. We want to develop the complementary currency system and test as many user cases as possible inside or outside the platform. And then we would like collect and share information about public benefit of services. Of course, in Italy, Croatia, Netherlands, we are collecting cases of how it works if you are unemployed, little collection of information put on the website, etc., and exchange. Because the platform is a free and open source platform, we hope that people uses it even when the project is finished as a sort of structure that can be used for doing this kind of things. So we hope in an appropriation from the people. The Common Fair Manifesto talks about 4 let's say ideological points. One is unconditional basic income, new alternative ways of managing common goods and common wealth, alternative sharing economy and common coin. It starts from artist project somehow, we have really worked a lot in artist community to think over and roll over the things of the principles inside this. So this is the link, and again, if you want, I don't know if there are spaces also tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, but we are here to start modeling one or many user cases, trying to use exactly these instruments. For this, with Raffaella, we developed I mean, not for this, but we're using it for this as well. We developed a system based on a game that is open source, and also the game. So you can eventually, if you like it, download it. It's a table game. It's called Le Grand Jeu, and we use it to introduce themes of alternative currencies and sustainability and cooperation to audiences without a guy like me talking from a PowerPoint presentation, but just sitting around the table and playing a game. This is the thing, and if you want more information, you find us on dime.org or on commonfair.net. That is the name of the platform. Feel free to subscribe and try it, and suggest us stuff to use it for. This was the presentation, more or less. Questions? Otherwise, I pose some questions. Please.
I have a few, but sorry, everybody else probably knows this because you were here on time, unlike me. So,
No.
what's your name?
I'm Federico.
So you're Federico Bonelli.
Yes, I'm Federico Bonelli, the third one.
And where are you? Do you live in Finland or you?
No. We live in. She comes from Copenhagen.
I'm Rafael.
She's
Live
Raffaella, and both of us we live in Netherlands, in Amsterdam.
Okay.
And the project Common Fair is a project founded by the European Commission, and includes 3 main countries in Europe. That is the Netherlands, Italy, and Croatia.
How did you come to be in Finland?
Because I happen to be an artist myself and was invited many years ago in Finland for a festival. It was called Pixelash.
I took place in this.
The good place in Helsinki, and I had met already with Mikko,
Okay.
and
Another connection.
Yes.
it's really a one-to-one connection. And because Mikko has this very interesting user case that we're going to talk about tomorrow. If you want, you can introduce.
Okay, but sorry to dominate. I want to ask a few questions. So
Please.
the platform is there if people want to use it. What does it run on? Does it run on Microsoft? Does it run on Linux? What can you run it on?
It's web-based.
It's web-based, so okay.
The platform is web-based. The software that we make is usually running on Linux. But this is multi.
It's JVM, so you can run it.
You can run it on anything. Yes.
Okay. And then if somebody wants to run a project and use it, how many users can log on and have accounts?
Ask Aspasia.
On the platform, on the wallet. You mean like to make a group wallet? Or
If I want to run a community currency project, which I do, and I want people to participate in it, how many people can I have to take part in it?
a lot to say. Really.
500? Okay, so that's enough. I haven't got
For sure.
500, it's good.
I'm sure you can have 5.
Okay.
Probably much.
Yeah.
So
You can have everybody with a wallet starting exchanging coin, decide what you. Maybe Aspasia, you can talk about the swappy briefly. I don't know.
We'll do it tomorrow, no?
Yeah, we do it tomorrow.
Are you there tomorrow? Or you
Yes, I'll come
okay.
for
Yeah,
this.
yeah, then
Yeah.
I will explain a bit
Oh,
more
then
about the
tomorrow
wallet.
we explain also in detail how you can do it.
I'll just explain why I'm asking all this. I started doing a PhD at Jyväskylä University, and it's on community currencies for rural resilience, rural regeneration is the focus. But I want to make a guide for how people can actually set up their own and run community currencies. And my supervisor said, "Oh, you should come to this thing." And then I read the article, and he said, "Oh, but you already know these people. They're your kind of people." Okay. So that's why I've come to find out, to help with this
Yeah.
project that you're doing.
Yeah.
But also, I hope university's got to improve it to run a course next year, and I want to do it as not just an academic stand-up talk, but more action research, where the students will actually make a community currency for Jyväskylä University. So this is my culture. It's anarchisty and self-organising. And I want them to do that. So I'm really interested in your intelligent gaming, and maybe that's one thing we could do with them. I don't know.
Yeah, that's great for sure to help. But I think also the wallet itself is open tomorrow. It's open source. If you want to really try it in a small community, you can just download it, run it directly. You can make cards yourself.
Yeah, well, I would try and get that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's
This was
quite
this
easy.
was the missing thing I had
Yeah.
in doing it, was like what do we run it on? What platform?
And-
So the wallet itself runs on AVM, like you can run it on any operating system.
And you could set up also like your group in the web service.
Yeah, so it's two different. So the wallet is integrated to this platform, the
Yeah.
wallet we make in Dyn. And in this platform you can make a group wallet, yes.
Okay.
You can make it a group, so you can be in one group together and you can talk to the other people basically. The wallet itself, if you want to use for your PhD, for example, is open source, the code of it. So you can download and run it. There's clear instructions. So you can have a minimal version of the wallet and create your own currency. Well, there's two ways to do it. So either through the platform or the wallet itself. I can imagine students probably prefer some open source code, that's why I'm using it.
Yeah. So you've coded that, have you?
Yeah.
Okay. So, can we ask you things about it? You want to know things?
Yes. Yeah, sure, GitHub.
Okay.
Other
Yeah, I was going to ask about the wallet and the coin. Like you gave this example of Milan.
yeah.
Are the rules of the coin incorporated now in the coin, or is it like the people use it in their way and then just exchange the coins, or is there like some, I don't know how to call it, even like these
So,
kind of like mechanisms
yeah.
inside the economy?
I understand the question. Yeah, so I think this wallet this platform is built on top of the wallet. The wallet is extremely generic.
Okay.
So the idea is that you can apply any rules you want. That's why we made it this way. So every community can decide. It will be kind of on top of it if they want to devalue the coin. For example, have communities that don't want people to accumulate coins, and because they want it to flow, for the economy to flow. So in that case, they choose to devalue the coin. This is possible. So all the rules that you want to make are possible.
Okay.
That is the idea. That's why we want to play the games, to see what rules would apply to your community or what's interesting and all that. So it's very generically made in order to accommodate these kind of things, and a lot of things will be just configuration changes. So it's quite
Okay.
flexible.
Yeah.
And also like who produces the value, who distributes the money, for example, it's used in a different way. So in Macau, there is a special account called the clearinghouse that actually does all the finance, and they distribute the coins. It's some trusty party, but you can make it different ways.
Then also, if you apply it with the blockchain, you can also have a system in which untrust, without you building a trust, you have blockchain-based system to know all the transactions, etc. So you don't need a third party to trust a third party, and this can be useful. Then all the legal part of the case for Finland, we have absolutely no idea.
No.
We're very curious to find out what are the things that can be done, or the things that can be asked that make possible, and also how to explain to people. In your case, you were mentioning about for example, in Sicily there is the problem that I am close to some permaculture people in Sicily, and of course they produce enough, but not a lot. They produce in a certain way that needs to be explained, and also it's very hard to sell because the prices of the market is flooded by stuff that is produced industrially. On the other hand, for example, you have the fact that the state gives a consumption bond, let's say money to buy food for example, migrants or poor people. And of course, poor people and migrants do with the money exactly what I would do, is to go to the shop that you can buy the cheapest. That usually is Lidl or something like that. you buy as much as possible, and the money comes directly with one passage from the pocket of the state to the pocket of a German-owned mega corporation, like this, poof, poof, and goes away from the economy, from the local economy. That is a very poor local economy that produces a lot of food, but just has not competitive prices. Now, you imagine you have these people on the territory that they get bored. It could be implied in actually people is paid to create nice ways to integrate them, and you have problems in paying with the local currency. You could make that some goods, some fruit and vegetables, etc., can be exchanged in terms of work and a little bit of alternative currencies. Volunteers can also be paid in alternative currencies. All the overflow could go into that, and at the same time be redivided once people need euros from a clearing house or simply with the taxes. So there would be a lot of possibilities actually for this type of things. Practically, many of these are illegal, but if you couple it with its mechanics of transparency and of public utility, actually it might be a good idea to do it, because it simply transcends the idea of money from a measurement of in debt, how much you are in debt, actually money more or less, that's what it measures now, to again a unit of exchange that was the concept in the beginning.
I think it depends also, like for the taxes. For example, in the Netherlands you can have like your own coin to the festival, because you do pay taxes in euros before the festival and after the festival. What happens internally? Yeah, the tax office doesn't have to know. So how they deal with the money for that 1 week that the festival is taking place, the tax office doesn't care to know this, because they only know, they want to know what comes in and what comes out, basically. So it depends on the.
Yeah, you can create a nice black box that has many things and interactions inside, and then what is the output is what is reported to the taxman.
Yeah, so it's not illegal. It's just what happens in this circle if you want to lend money to each other. I mean, how you want to manage that, I don't think. Usually the tax doesn't care about this.
Yeah.
Especially,
it's not anything bad. I mean,
especially with volunteer work. Imagine that we have a big building that we run as a cooperative of owners, and every time I clean the toilet, I just scan myself for 5 coins. And at the end of the month, like that, I can demonstrate that it's true that I always clean the toilet without having a fuss or fight. You can actually really model a lot of interactions within people with this system. And at the end, you can have a rendicontation that is very precise. While instead, usually you make a black box and you just nothing. You don't know anything what happened inside. And then you have more structures of power. I can come to you and say, you have to clean the toilet now. And maybe it works. Okay, this was more or less the presentation we had.
I have a question maybe for you, or I don't know, about the time bank. You were saying professionals should be taxed at the rate of their specific profession.
The minimum wage.
There is no official minimum wage in Finland. What there is instead is a collective agreement. So depending on the job you do, and this isn't always clear and transparent. So for example, if you pick apples, there is a collective agreement. But if you pick blueberries in the forest, there isn't a collective agreement. So as a blueberry picker, you're paid what the market will pay you. But if you pick apples, you have to be paid to the collective agreement, which might include direct amount of money, it might include some other things, sort of payments in kind, like clothing or facilities for washing or things like this. So this is negotiated by the unions directly with the government, and usually binding, and most industries will have a collective agreement. You can be paid more if somebody wants to pay you more, but you must be paid the minimum. And if you're not paid the minimum, the police and the tax office kind of between them get involved, and they take the tax from the employer, fine them, and also make sure that the wage is paid. So there was a Chinese restaurant worker who, after 10 years of being paid almost nothing, was told he should have been paid a higher rate as a chef. And the company had to pay him a high rate as if they paid it for 10 years, and he got the money. So this is how it works. It's a bit unusual, I know. I think some countries have these collective agreements, but here they're really binding, it's really quite strong.
I think actually it's very social.
Yeah, it is.
It's very social. I would have liked it many times to be
The only
paid.
place of union is
Yeah.
Well, there's another aspect as well. If you're unemployed and you've worked for, I think it's 2 years or at least a year, you will get something like 80% of your salary for the next year, maybe even 2 years.
It's about 60.
Is it 60? Has it gone down?
Yeah, it's about 60.
Okay, but you get a fair amount.
Yes.
But if you haven't worked consistently, like I've come from abroad and I haven't worked that then, I get the basic amount, which is not it's not 60% at all. It's like really low. So there's a chance this will change, but I think the collective agreement won't change. People like it.
Or it's actually the percent isn't the same always. It's more when you have lower salary and less when you have higher. So if you have salary of 2,000, you can get like 1,000 euros, and if you have salary of 6,000, you can get like
2,000.
2,000 or 2,500.
Yeah.
But it's undergoing reform at the moment because they think, well, this is too much money, which many could say it is.
How is the welfare system in Finland?
Depends from which angle you look. For many foreigners, it looks like a heaven, but when you struggle with the system, it can be hell. So
I've seen one thing I noticed last time I was in Helsinki. It was very cold and it was raining, and there was this very long queue of people queuing for eating, for the free food. And it was outside in the rain, and I thought it was very Protestant as an ethic, because you have to suffer to ask for food, for free food. I come from Rome. We are Catholic, so we hide the poor. So actually, you enter the center. You can enter the center also pretending you are just looking for the street, and then in the center you are fed with people that feeds you without shaming you before that you are in the cold asking for it. I didn't thought. I mean, every country has its own system, but this was indication of being a sort of Protestant ethic for me. No? That it's your fault to be poor somehow.
I think that's the only, it's the symbol of poverty in Finland, this line of people waiting. And you don't see much of poverty on the streets and like in that general. There are no beggars.
No.
Not many homeless people, or they are hiding somewhere and you don't see them basically in the street. But there is this one place where they actually, you are referring to this one place, it's quite close to the hotel you are staying also, that they collect a lot of food from the supermarkets and distribute it from one place.
Uh-huh.
So they make a long queue and you go there with your bags and they give you some stuff to eat, and that's like, they can't take everybody in at the same time, so that's why you queue basically.
No, I'm sure there is a reason that is very practical, but to my eyes sounded a bit symbol of Protestant ethic. In Dutch, for example, when you are in debt, you are schuldig. Sorry for my pronunciation of Dutch. That means that is the same word you say in the trial if you are guilty. So to be schuldig is to be guilty and to be in debt, and it's exactly the same word that maps the two concepts. That for me, being Mediterranean is totally different. I mean, to be guilty is to be guilty, to be in debt is to be in debt. It's a different thing.
You study in Denmark, skatt means tax and love.
Oh, wow.
think in Austria it's the same. Konkurs is the word for bankrupt. And you would never admit that you've been bankrupt. You're somehow morally bankrupt, not just financially bankrupt. And it's not acceptable to be immoral. It's acceptable to be immoral in other ways because it's a Catholic country. So sexual immorality is fine. But bankrupt shows financial immorality. It's really accepted. The food aid is actually an EU food aid programme. Every EU country can get the money for buying food aid. As far as I know, the only one that doesn't is Britain. Because Britain said we don't have any need for food aid, even though if you've been there and you've seen the country, you know it's huge numbers that need it. And this is for ideological reasons, so they refuse to take the money, even though it's available. The homeless thing, Finland is the only European country that's seen homeless go down over the last 10 years consistently. And the reason is they have a policy called housing first. So if you've got drugs problems or an ex-prisoner or whatever, or mental issues, they house you first, then they deal with the problems. You might be in some special accommodation, but there's always a place for you. So there are homeless people here. It's about 300, 400 in the whole country. But this is down from maybe 1,000 in the 90s, maybe 2,000 in the 90s. Yeah.
Not everything is registered in this, but like totally permanently homeless is that. Of course, there are some like young people who are in between and sofa surfing and that kind of thing. So lots of unregistered homeless as well, but like the.
But it's an ideal, of course.
Yeah.
400. There's still 400 people that are not.
Yeah, of
homeless.
course, but
But generally, the thing is there's less and less of it. What I've noticed, you might see people begging on the streets. I was in London on Saturday. I saw people sleeping out with sleeping bags, just out right when it was raining on them, like not covered up or anything, and lots of them. I don't see that in Tampere where I am. I'm not in Helsinki. I don't know what we have here. What I do see people begging, but when you look at them, most of them are Roma people, and it's a way of making income. And some of them are asylum seekers who are in asylum centres and they get a small amount of money, but they don't have a job, so they beg. Once or twice, Finnish people have asked me for money, but I have not seen Finnish people sit down with a sign or begging on the floor, but they might come up and say, could you give me some money? Or would you give me some money? So maybe it's just a cultural difference. It's pretty cold in the winter. It's just minus 30, you'll be dead if you lie on the street.
yeah, that was the joke I was about to make before. If you are homeless in Finland, you don't last the winter, so that's it. But I actually had kept it. I bided my tongue, but it came out anyway.
The police come and move you. They say, get up, you can't stay here. And they take you to a centre. They take you to a shelter.
That's good. Yeah, the problem with the Netherlands is with bureaucracy, because the bureaucracy is it's a bit weird. And if you are outside the bureaucratic usual case, like I have a friend that is from Hungary, he's been living in the Netherlands for 35 years, lost his job as an editor, a film editor, lost his job, and he should get in between job fund that refunds him money, but they forgot about him, so he's not registered for some reason. Nobody knows why. They keep bouncing him from one office to the other. In the same time, he's losing his house. He doesn't have money to pay food. So really, I have to give him every now and then. I have to give him 50 euros. So I mean, and it's quite common. Actually, they lose your documents, and then they say, "Well, it's your problem."
Yeah, we said to you about the system, and if you listen to the official stuff, it's all perfect and nothing ever goes wrong. Or they say it's such a tiny amount and it's soon rectified. If you talk to anybody who's a foreigner and ask if you've experienced any problems in Finland, what you find is that I don't say it's individuals being a racist. It's not people saying I don't like you, you're a foreigner, but often the system's institutionally biased or racist. So, for example, when I applied for a job, give me the form and it asked me what my army career was. Obviously, I wasn't in the army because I wasn't from Finland. So when I fill it in, it goes to the HR department and they sort through. The ones that are not filled in, they put away and don't, so you don't get called to interviews because you didn't fill the form in. But you weren't in the army, so you couldn't fill the form in. or things like this. So another one that happened was getting a bank card. To access all the services, you need the bank codes. It's all done. It's a good system. You log online with your bank codes, and then you can access whatever it can be, your tax details, to claim for unemployment benefits. You don't even have to go to the office. Once a year, you have to go to the office. So I have artist friends who've been in South America filling the forms in online electronically. Never got caught. Took the money and just whatever. So it's nice from that point of view. But if you don't have the bank codes, then you have a big problem because you have to go all the time and queue up for a long time. So I had the experience when I first came here. I opened my bank account and I couldn't get money out because I've got no bank card. I asked the bank for a bank card and I was told by the woman that I needed to show my passi. I said, here's my passport. She said, no, that's not the passport. That's not the passi. That's a passport. Passi is the Finnish word for passport. But to her understanding, passi was only a Finnish passport and all the others were foreign passports. So because I couldn't show a passi because I'm not Finnish, she wouldn't give me the bank codes. At the same time, a Swedish friend of mine had the same problem in another bank. So we both went next door and asked the other banks, if we bring our accounts here, can we have bank codes? Both banks said yes. So we swapped bank accounts, then we got the cards with the codes. Now, it's comic, but
this
how
is
do you
the-
sort this out as a foreigner?
This
You
is the
can't-
typical story that is good for the common fair platform.
Yeah, really.
Really,
Stories
because-
are very good.
Yeah, is the reason why when I went to the Netherlands, the first thing I did is to try to find another Italian that was already there since at least a year to get some good hints. And actually, there was a similar thing because in the Netherlands, to have everything, you need to be registered legally in an address. But of course, when you first arrive, you find a very expensive room to
Temporarily,
rent
yes,
temporarily, but you don't get usually the permission by the owner of the room to register there because then you have a status. And so you pay a lot of money, but the problem is to get registered. But I got a trick. The hint was because I had to register a company. I went to the Chamber of Commerce. I said, I'm registering a company. I have a temporary address, but I will tell you exactly when I get permanent one, I will let you know. So because I was registering company, they gave me my registration. With that registration, I got a BSN, a security number. So I had to turn around the system also a bit. Doesn't work anymore. So if it's on file, for those that know, they changed something. And last friends that arrived didn't manage to do it anymore.
Yeah, there's always these little tricks you have to learn, like you say, from the locals.
Yeah, this is stuff really we would like to have on the platform. Then the platform becomes useful. This kind of stories are always interesting. By the way, on the platform you can be anonymous, and it's really anonymous because we run it. We know it's anonymous to a certain extent. At least.
I had something similar when I came here. I didn't register when to register for. And the Finnish system was quite happy for me to not register living somewhere. But then as soon as you need something, you have to be registered. And they only take it from the moment you register, not when you come to the country. So you have to be wise to this. Britain, we don't register. It's just not something we do. So when they tried to introduce the poll tax in the 1990s in London, what happened?
There was nobody in London anymore.
Nobody lived there anymore. They just moved houses to another flat. Didn't register. They couldn't collect the money. So that's when the poll tax really collapsed. It wasn't a protest. They didn't know where the people were. Oh, he's in London somewhere. Well, how do I find him? They're totally anarchists.
Well, I mean, I like it. So, well, this is our story. More or less, what we do tomorrow is to start modeling a bit.
We want to develop a common wealth coin or a system for our company or like a platform for Finnish hemp industry, but also to use the model for other things as well as like community supported agriculture and stuff like that. And we want to connect the ownership and the value and the consumers directly with the stock. So you get a share of something from the farmer, and it's your thing if you want to have it like that as the source material, or will you introduce it to different producers in the value chain so you could have different services done on your crop. And
Can you repeat this? Sorry, I'm super tired.
so basically we want to connect, let's say the farmer has 1 hectare of land and grows hemp there. You will get a certain amount of that whole crop by investing in, and that's yours. Whatever comes, you of course share a bit of a risk with the farmer. So if it's a bad year, you lose some, but if it's a good year, you win some. And from that crop, you can have different services that are designed in the same system. So this is again like the black box thing that, you know, once we are inside the system, we can do different things and distribute different things inside there, and only when it pops up it has a price, and we can output like low price goods for the consumers. We can put like market price goods for the markets, and the owners of the crop will, and the producers of the crop will eventually decide how to distribute the resources and the profits and everything inside the system, and trying to make this kind of a platform.
So if I got this right, say this room is full of hemp. With my coin, I could have, I don't know, a table's worth of hemp. There
Yeah.
it would be in a sack,
Yeah.
more hemp for me to do what I want to.
Yeah,
But if I then want some processing on it, some marketing done on it, and to be turned into a product,
Yeah.
I would give some of my coin to that whoever processes it. Say it's the farmer.
yeah,
And then I get less of it. But if I decide I want it myself, I can have it and process it myself. It's my choice.
yeah.
And then
So it's kind of like a service-based thing. So like the growing of the crop is a service. You pay for the farmer, but you get the crop, and that's your crop. Eventually, like instead of having money, you are having a pile of hemp, and it's for you. Like if you want to ship it to your home or your friends, it's a service. You pay a bit for that. But if you have 2 piles, you can sell the other pile and use this for free, because it's kind of like, you know, very lucrative at the moment in the market. So the markets are paying really well. So
that's legally allowed. That I can just buy that hemp off the person and have it.
well, we are now expecting some changes. There was some like big announcement from the Evira, the authorities who are regulating foodstuff, that hemp is now considered a foodstuff in Finland. But it still has some potholes because THC is not allowed. So it's like we are waiting for these changes to happen all the time, and we want to be ready when the market is. CBD is allowed as in Europe as a foodstuff, but if it's concentrated, then it's novel food. So we are constantly trying to find out and redefine where we are, and maybe push the envelope a bit, because it's like it's very interesting economy, and the problem with hemp and cannabis is that it used to be a common plant and everybody could use it and it was for everybody, but now it has been like criminalized through the drug war, and then it's now like the ownership is like with the pharmaceutical qualities, it's on the pharma company and they are patenting it. So like the common of the plant is going into the wrong hands, and this is kind of like our take on getting the hold back on the plant and the right to the plant, and to share the knowledge and share the ownership of the plant in a common way.
Do you have any of these heirloom seeds, heirloom varieties, which the old varieties that people might have saved that then you can. So this is a lineage that goes back. I don't know.
We don't know. Like there is a long history of hemp grown in Finland, but the heirloom species, strains have vanished. But it was also like it's after it was criminalized, it's been wiped out from all the national sagas and books and whatever, and it has been very, very clearly censored. If you know Kalevala, there is a lot of talk about Liina, and many poems they are like they tell about this, but it has been translated into cotton. So they removed the plant from that saga. They have removed it from the history books basically. So and it's funny nowadays, like the pharma FIMEA, which is the authority for regulating pharmaceutical products, they say that cannabis has little or no known benefits for health, and it was one of the most used medicines until 50s in Finland, and then it's like whoops, it has no history. So there's a lot of struggle. Like it's a very it's not a controversial plant actually.
It's a decolonization that's got to happen really.
Yeah.
Where you really discover what was actually there in the
Yeah.
peoples and how the people used it. And
Yeah.
try and find the varieties they use, perhaps through old books or records or
Mm.
even, herbaria, finding what samples are kept in herbariums,
Mm.
and then you might have something that comes out.
So in practice, what is because in the Netherlands, for example, on book, it's very weird because in reality you can have up to 5 grams, I think, per person, or you can have up to an amount of plants. So but you're not allowed to sell or buy.
Yeah.
So the coffee shops which exist, they definitely have more than 10 plants. They're illegal. On paper they're illegal, but they are tolerated. So the police will never basically attack anybody for any reason related to weed unless you have a hectare illegal plantation. So how in practice is it similar here, or is it like the police after it or not?
It depends. In Helsinki, like we are talking about the recreational cannabis. So in Helsinki, they don't really go after smokers that much. If they pop up by a grow house, then they will of course bust it. I don't think there is. I mean, of course, because it's criminal. The people who are growing are criminals, but it's not that much of an organized crime thing. Finland is very self-sufficient. I mean, there is of course organized crime as well, but like Finland is very self-sufficient with the recreational cannabis, and that's basically like small growers have a small garden in their home and they distribute it to their friends, and it's kind of like a closed circuit basically. So not much of it goes to the black market or kids per se.
There was a case in, I think it was Tampere, I'm not certain, I think it was Tampere, where they watched people going in the hydroponic shops, buying hydroponic kits, and then took notes and followed them, and they busted a guy. They went to his house, they'd seen him buy these hydroponic kits, and they broke into his house. He wasn't growing cannabis, he wanted it for other plants. So this was really embarrassing for them. And then it was like, how are you profiling people? You hadn't seen a crime being committed, you'd assume because they went to the shop. So after that, they've been less looking to the public to try and find people who happen to be growing it, and it's changing.
It's changing really
to be
fast,
more
yeah.
tolerant.
Yeah. And there is like the Terveyden ja hyvinvoinnin laitos, the Institute for Health and Well-being. It's regulating like or like they are doing research on health issues and so on, and they made an announcement last autumn that we really should decriminalize all drug use, and that's where we are heading. But it's another thing, and we are basically like, of course, we want to grow the medicinal varieties as well, but most of our work is going towards like getting access to the plant and the CBD, the cannabidiol, which is very healthy and like beneficial for people. And that's kind of like still like, well, they said it's okay, but then they said it's not okay. And there's lots of like these conflicting issues we are trying to resolve at the moment. So hemp is allowed, but THC is not. So basically hemp is not allowed. So like
It's not class A, THC, right?
it's the same everywhere.
It's class A drug.
Yeah, by UN. But UN is going to change it too.
There was a meeting in Egypt, I think it was 1926, I might have the date wrong, and then they put together narcotics, which were sleep-inducing drugs, and they put cannabis in at the same time at that conference. So it was at a lower grade originally, and they upped it to this grade. That's why it's also serious in many countries. My impression of Finland is there's lower drug use generally of cannabis and cocaine, and so people are less tolerant of it. But there's other drugs that are used more in compensation. You can find it, the figures are online somewhere. So people, I think they're no different from the rest of Europe, to be honest.
I'm curious because of this mechanics of compensation. I'm curious also about, Miko was telling me that hemp is very good on fixating CO2.
Yeah.
And putting back CO2 in the land. So in these cases, you know, as a case for alternative currency, it could also include that aspect, and somehow
Yeah.
if you start to finance hemp growing by reducing CO2 somehow.
I can give you a contact for that if you want one. A guy in Brussels, and he specialises as a financial broker for carbon offsetting.
Okay.
The big problem with carbon offsetting is it sounds good in theory.
Yeah.
The theory is that polluting industries would pay costs to be able to continue polluting for a while they reduce their amounts. But in practice, the people that do nice green things don't like big polluting industries, so they're not willing to sell their credits to polluting industries. So the industries can't buy them, and the industries don't really understand how the smaller guys work. So then there's a difficulty. It's like, I don't know, but he does that, so maybe
Yeah.
he
Yeah, so one of these ideas that we could use in growing hemp and using it as like a contributor to the commons is to grow fiber hemp masses and masses. 1 hectare of fiber hemp is taking 15 to 22 tons of CO2 out of the air. So that's like two Finnish people offsetting completely their carbon. The average in Finland is like 10,000 kilos of carbon. High because we have to heat the houses and so on. And if you are buying from this thing, it could be like, you know, you could have a daily payment of €1 and you contribute like 365 euros to the growing of the hemp. You can get quite a lot of hemp with that. And we can pay the farmer a good fee, and we can share the profits with the consumer, producer. I don't know, there is no good word for prosumer in Finnish, but anyway, so you are part of producing it, you are part of reducing your own carbon emissions, and part of the profits would go to develop further the use of hemp, so we could grow more and input it back to the system and grow like this common and commons of the knowledge of the hemp commons and the technologies. And it's also kind of like very nice feedback loop back to the old ages where actually hemp had value as a money, because like, you know, one brand, like I don't know, this bouquet of hemp was worth something. So you could pay with hemp. Of course, we don't want to, haul these 3-meter long sticks around us. So that's why we could use this coin.
If you replace money with a hemp, I'm moving here.
Yeah. And that would be also like, but that's what you have. That's the thing. Like it's just in your wallet, but like you have like ton of hemp, and you're exchanging it to different things.
But there is
gold in the bank.
there is some things to be said for that, but you have to know what the product is from the hemp, and also that the carbon isn't later coming back into the and also the waste streams in question.
Yeah.
So there's a
Totally.
paper is an issue where they
Yeah.
make paper out of stone, a stone paper where you wouldn't need to use trees. You can break chalk up and you can process it somehow. The problem is it can't be recycled with other paper. So what do you do with it after you've used this chalk paper? There's no place to put it. So I'm not sure how easy it is to recycle. It might be quite easy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a good possibility, I think.
Yeah.
To also offset cutting trees for paper, you would cut
Yes.
paper.
Yes.
I think that's a much stronger thing, is that you support old growth forests to stay
Yeah.
by planting hemp in certain places.
And that would be really good because Finland is known for forest industry and paper industry, and we are now like the government is stating that we calculated the carbon offset from the woods wrong. We can actually cut down more of them and still be like on bonus. And
How many Finnish there are? How many people is in Finland? 5, 6 millions?
Something like 5.
Yeah.
I think it's just under 5.
5.5.
Yeah.
It's the whole population of Sicily, more or less. Yeah,
But a big area.
No, because we just arrived from a trip in China, and we saw a city that makes 22 million people. And when you arrive from the airport to the center of the city, is 1 hour of travel, and you see just same type of building houses on the left, same type of building houses on the right, forever.
Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, like Spider-Man. And then, when I saw that, I thought, fuck, my daughter became vegetarian 3 years ago because she wanted to save the planet. Fuck, this is 22 million people, and it's just one city. Not because they are Chinese, but
It's not a racist thing, we get it.
No. It was not meant. It's fantastic people, but they actually. We have
The
a lot of
numbers.
propaganda,
Yeah.
but it's the numbers. We have a lot of propaganda on China. They already have all scooters electric.
Yeah, lots.
I was amazed by
And
how
no
well they
plastic
work.
straws anywhere.
Yeah.
In Taiwan also, they
Yeah.
have paper or other solutions with straws.
So because when they decided something is not to be done anymore, it passes in 1 second, But another thing that came to my mind, because before we were talking about debt, I'm reading this book. It's pretty nice. I have to suggest it. It's the first 5,000 years of the history of debt of David Graeber, and it's a really nice book. So if you wanna get some nice, inspiring things about how money evolved from the idea of debt. This is a very good, inspiring book. He's an anthropologist, so looks at things from the point of view of the anthropologist. And I actually was surprised to know that the story that the barter was the origin of money is a fabricated story by Adam Smith. Actually, there is absolutely no evidence, and more is rather convincing stories that money comes out because you wanted to have a faster way to account how much I own you. I do favors to you, you do favor to me. This balances in the village, we can balance, but then if we go somewhere else, how do we bring this fact that I'm your friend and you are in debt with me and I'm in debt with you? How do we balance? And then this made the idea of money, and it's actually exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to model, sharing economies in which, without thinking too much, we can exchange electricity I can, for example, buy solar panels and load your car with electricity because I don't need to buy batteries because we have the car, but then I can use your car on Sundays, stuff like that, without thinking about it. That would be the advantage.
Your story brings to mind my grandfather. After the war was he had a friend in Germany, and they were sending letters, but they usually with the letter they would exchange stamps in different countries, interesting stamps from Germany and Finland. And after about 50 years of letter exchange, which my grandfather considered a nice way to stay in contact and a little bit, see the culture and so on. The German guy wrote that during this 50 years, the value of the stamps that I've sent and the value of the stamps that you have sent comes down to that you owe me 73 euros or some ridiculous pocket money. Very anal approach. I'm here because I'm interested in the subject matter. I've read something about debt and money and central banking history. We're interested in Mikko's project as well. Two potential user cases, if you want to call them. I'm working on this village project for a self-sustainable village and energy, food, housing, social organization, which is part of it. And then healing and well-being services. Hopefully a village in probably first in Estonia and then in Finland. We already have some active partner projects in Mexico and Ecuador, Germany, Tenerife, in different stages of development. But the idea is to collect information from them and then share a database and start putting together a plan for some kind of ideal utopian village, and hopefully a network of such villages. And very much looking forward to mapping out the possibilities of collaboration regarding the platform and also your project.
I've got some good contacts here on this.
Yeah.
Some regional stories.
The other type of user case, I have a client. It's a Finnish pharmacological development company. They basically take products from Finnish or any local forest industry, mainly sawdust, and they can extract from the sawdust healing molecules at the moment from pine and birch, and basically anything they're looking at, it seems that amazing potential medicine, like natural medicine, found it. Of course, the easiest way to access them is the byproduct of the forest industry, but we're hoping to see the forest industry as we know it go down, and maybe then we'll move with the forest directly. But it's a limited liability company. They're dividing themselves into three different companies. There's the R&D, then there's the extraction, and then there's the building products and selling them to pharmaceutical companies, foods companies, well-being industry, etc. And for a while we've been discussing this idea of investing into molecules. So it's a little bit tricky thing to invest in a company that's developing a pretty wide range of different products because they all have very different potential both medically and economically. But we found that people who have prostate cancer, for example, they're very willing to invest in prostate cancer curing molecule. And the trouble has been that it's hard to set up that kind of investment arrangement with real money because of the taxation, because of all the bookkeeping. But it could be that this type of approach would be very useful for this kind of product-specific investment. The reason that it's interesting for me is that this might bring this idea that our forests are actually full of medicine closer to people, and therefore see the forest as something else than a pulp cubic meters. Dust sort of like
Magic dust. Sawdust. Is a saw. So as you saw, or it's a bounce.
I didn't even know you can use
So yeah, this village project is one, and then this
Interesting.
chronological development thing is another project.
Yeah, one thing maybe is worth saying is that when we had to, I mean, the idea of developing a game came because I was asked, Federico, you are a creative person, blah blah. Can you please find out a way to say to anyone, explain to anyone what is the connection between money and democracy? Yeah, okay. So I started thinking about this stuff, and of course I didn't come up with much until a certain point. I got this illumination of, yeah, maybe I can use a game because after all, we got to understand capitalism from monopoly. You know? So, okay, capitalism, monopoly, post thing, the thing we would like to have another game. So I make the game first, and then when in the way of making the game, I was very much happy to do it together with other people, and especially with Raffaella on the circular economy principles, and could translate it to something. But the funny stuff is that then I went to study Monopoly, and I saw that Monopoly actually was not created by Parker Brothers, as everybody knows, but not even because they practically robbed a guy that came to them to sell Monopoly. They give him like $10,000 and say, okay, yes, you renounce all your rights, and then they make trillions. But not only, this guy had stolen the idea to a woman that had invented it before and had also patented the Monopoly. Only he changed some stuff. So she had made Monopoly because her name was Elizabeth Phillips. She made Monopoly because she wanted to explain to people the theory of taxation of two rows. That was a socialist way of putting a tax. And she had called the bank Mother Nature. So this guy actually stole her idea, stole the whole system of the game, changed Mother Nature into the bank because it was the 20s and the banks were, you know, in the heart of everyone in the States, and went to sell it to Parker Brothers that fucked him. So this is a bit the story we don't want to repeat, and that's also why the game is free and open source, and actually includes a way, you will see tomorrow, includes a way to fork it. So practically every table game will grow its own rules, and two table game can diverge in rules and generate completely different game, like in forking a software on GitHub or something like that. So I mean, I'm looking forward to have you to play with us. And mainly I finished to say what I want to say.
Nikos, one other thing, just short. I wanted to say, when you were talking about this idea of people buying and they get a sack of hemp at the end of the year, it made me think of, there used to be Christmas clubs. People could get a pig. So they bought shares in the pig, and when the pig was slaughtered, they got, I don't know, sausages. I'm pretty sure those still exist in some rural areas where people get in England it's a turkey, here it would be a ham. So that might be a good way to see how that model worked with the farmers, how the farmers, what levels they charged and how that worked.
Mm-hmm.
But then copy for whatever project it is. And it's also something concrete that Finnish people can, you know, if you're saying a sack of hemp, people are like, what the fuck? What are you doing with a sack of hemp? But if they're getting something else, like you talked about this kind of Christmas basket, didn't you, of food from community supported agriculture that you would get.
Yeah, yeah.
So this might be something else that you could look at.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that's happened in Finland, but totally curious about it. Like, and the whole point is that in Finland, even though the biggest supermarket chain is a cooperative, the food comes partly from cooperatives, but we don't have any connection with the farmer, and the whole value chain is designed to skim every cent out of it, so the farmer doesn't get anything, the producers in between get something, but the actual benefit for those who are producing it and consuming it, they are not connected in any way. So the value needs to change, and we need to understand different values that we produce in between and in the process. And that's why we are having also this to figure out what values there are to be created and shared instead of the monetary value that we mostly refer to when we are talking about value.
Yeah, it's a good idea to link it to other kind of product. And just that made me think about a client I had many years ago. She has a huge archaeological garden in Italy. She recover plants that are close to extinction. And she was explaining me that there is no place on the market for this product. And she was struggling to find a way to sustain this, not as a cultural fact, but as because they were really good for health and has a lot of value.
Yes,
so
yes.
in that sense. So,
Yeah, and those are usually that kind of like seed banks are community run, but they don't make any profit because there is basically no market, or it's hard to sell, and modern strains of plants produce much more yield, or like more normal yield. The carrots that we use, for example, nowadays, they are orange, and we are, it's hardwired in our brain that carrots are orange, but it's only one carrot that is orange.
Peter Rabbit
Others.
has red carrots.
Yeah.
They're red carrots.
And potatoes also, like the origin of potatoes in South America, there's like blue and purple and all kinds of potatoes, and we are using like 5 different potatoes that all look the same.
If you have agricultural question about the hemp, so the benefits of the hemp is several, but for how long can you grow hemp in the same earth that doesn't deteriorate the earth? Because I know some plants you have to change your production of that particular piece of land, otherwise.
It's actually, it's not good for continuous.
Okay, so
So it's also like you need to circulate, but it's good in the circulation because it's the roots are very deep, so they go really deep down, so they reduce the leakage of the nutrients into the bottom groundwater and further. And it's also holding the carbon inside, so that's one good thing. And it's making it's making better the soil in many ways. So it's really good actually in this circular rotation as one plant. So the next plants will benefit from the hemp growing. There's actually like the Pellervo Co-op Center is publishing this magazine, and there is on the last number there is oil hemp fits well in organic circular.
Plenty.
but this is something also that should be mapped in the ecology in a way, right?
Yes,
We have to
yes.
put different plants.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it takes that the circle has happened. I mean, if you tell me it's 1,000 years, maybe okay, I don't care. But if it's like every year, 2 years, probably this will be also mapped, right? Something else will take place.
Yes. I don't like it's very rhizomic. Like once you go into one angle, you will
Yeah.
end up in endless question. So I think we are trying to keep it kind of like very systematic on a very simple level, and then we start adding more details and how and why and so on. So it's
Yeah.
very like, of course, like prototyping something that we could try next year. But I'm hopeful that we get like I'm very hopeful that this idea is good. I know it's good, but how to get it out there is another thing, and to make the product or the platform interesting enough. And of course, we need to, farmers are, I think, a bit conservative. They come from the countryside and they don't always go with the city things, the internet and so on.
It's something else as well. Growers want to know that they've got security of income.
Yeah.
They don't want to have some crop, so their land's ruined, and they can't grow something the next year because that's no income.
Yeah.
They want to know they've got a market for it. They want a guarantee. If there's a guarantee,
Yeah, that's actually
then
like
that's the
yeah.
key thing. It's a guarantee of the
Yeah.
income.
And that's like when you buy the crop, or like the share of the crop, you already pay the farmer at that point, even before anything is planted. So it gives the support for the farmer, and also, of course, the prices will be negotiated in the system. But I think the farmer should have like a very decent part, because he's doing the main work and providing the resource for the system. So it's like also,
You might if you talk to the right people in forestry and farming, actually get support to start a new crop. The Agri people are the ones that do that at the European level. Problem is that the Finnish system is very locked into big companies controlling things, and they lobby politically to prevent that happening, prevent projects coming. So I went to a talk about Agri for innovative forestry products, and in Greece they said, we're doing lots of them. We're doing about 100 across all of Greece. And the Finnish people said, we're not doing any, we're doing 4 in the whole country. So why are you only doing 4? So we could do hundreds. The money's there for it, but the big companies have stopped anything else because they don't want anybody experimenting or doing something different.
we can talk about that tomorrow and look further into that.
Great.
Yeah, it's been a really good discussion.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. I hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, it's great.
I have some flyers for the many, and take some to give your friends, and so I don't have to bring them back to because they send us, switch this off. I tell you something off.
Okay.
They-
Bye, internet.
Are we meeting here tomorrow?